The Deadlift World Championships are on September 6th in Birmingham, England at Giants Live, and this could change the course of my career. Now, there are a couple of people who have done this before who it has absolutely taken them to another stratosphere in terms of impact, popularity, and prestige in the strongman world. These two guys, of course, are Eddie Hall and Hafþór Björnsson. Eddie Hall by lifting 500 kilos for the first time ever, breaking the deadlift world record by 37 kilos, and Hafþór Björnsson by lifting 1 kilo more than that. Now, I aim to do this at a body weight nearly 100 pounds less than either of these guys, and I believe this would put me into the conversation as the strongest person of all time. I would love to know from you guys. Pop in the comments what you think determines the strongest person ever, and if I do this, would I be in that conversation? Now, to be able to do this at 100 pounds body weight less, I'm gonna need every tip, trick, and advantage possible, and thankfully, I have one of those two guys in my corner who's willing to help me out. I rang up Eddie Hall and talked to him about his prep for 500, how it might apply to my 505 kilo lift, and what his best advice would be for me if he's going to be there, and what the odds are that he thinks I'm actually going to get it done. Go ahead, enjoy the conversation, pull away what you would like to for your own deadlift PBs, and let's see if we can smash some PBs together. Now, it's possible for you to see a moment in strength history live. Tickets for the Giants Live World Deadlift Championships are still available. We'll put a link down in the description where you can join on September 6th in Birmingham, England, and watch a piece of history. All right, the man who absolutely shattered the deadlift record, whether you think it's 500 or 501, whatever, 500, breaking the record by 37 kilos in one day, is far and away the most impressive feat of deadlift prowess ever to be had. So I figured we should hop on, have a chat, and talk about how on earth you did that.
Well, just straight to the point, how on earth did I do that? I still don't quite know how the fuck I added 37 kilos to the deadlift world record in a single day. I don't know how I did it, but all I can say is I devoted my life to strongman for that entire year. I sort of set the target in 2015 at the World Deadlift Champs. I pulled 463 for the world record, and it felt fairly easy. And I said to Colin Bryce straight after, and this was all on camera, how much could you get me if I were to pull 500 kilo? And everyone around me just burst out laughing.
Yeah.
Like everyone, I was being deadly fucking serious, but everyone just burst out laughing.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, okay, well you get X, Y, and Z. And off I went. You know, I had a full year, literally a full year to the dot to get prepped mentally, physically. And yeah, I was fucking devoted, man. I was devoted.
Did you take that whole year off of actually competing to focus on it?
Not at all. So I was still training to become the world's strongest man at that point. So right. I went into, if I remember correctly, the world's strongest man was like 5 weeks after the 500 kilo deadlift attempt. So that was at the forefront. So the world's strongest man was more important.
Sure.
So I still trained super hard for the strongman, you know, all the events, the Atlas Stones, the Farmers, all that kind of shit. And the deadlift was just something that worked well. You know, it just worked well. End of the day, if you've got an insane deadlift, it transfers over to pretty much probably 70, 80% of the strongman movements. Yeah. You know, yoke, Farmers, Atlas Stones. So I was like, fuck it. Get my back super strong, and it'll help on the journey to become the world's strongest man.
Sure, easy. Well, let's take a step back then, and go an individual day in your life prepping for breaking the deadlift world record, morning through to evening. Give me a 10,000-foot overview of what that looked like.
Well, deadlift day for me was every Thursday, and up until 2014, I used to come in the gym every single week and do a max deadlift. Every single week, every Thursday, I'd come in and pull as hard as I could. You know, some weeks I'd hit 420, for some weeks I'd hit 410, some weeks I'd hit 425. But I did that every single week. Right. And then I had this sort of epiphany of you can't recover in 7 days from a maximum lift. It's just impossible. And that's when I took a step back and sort of re-looked at my program, and I had to do like a week of speed, a week of heavy deadlifts, just to sort of balance the two out, power from the floor and then lockout power. That was my sort of thinking of the balancing out. So firstly, deadlift day was Thursdays for me. So every day would be up at 7:30, and I'd have a full English breakfast. I would then go back to bed. You're gonna laugh at this, mate, because I was a very heavy eating, sleeping giant, really.
Sure.
Go back to bed. I'd get up about sort of mid-morning, 10, 11 a.m., 10:30, something like that. I'd have a bowl of porridge. That'd be like my second breakfast. Then I'd do my physio. So I'd have a light physio session just to flush everything out, get all the toxins moving, and warm everything up. Then lunch straight after that would be half a kilo of meat, half a kilo to a kilo of carbs, and then about 250 grams of veg. Now, cheesecake was a big prepper for my strongman. So I'd have half a family cheesecake for my lunch. And even half a family cheesecake, you're talking like at least sort of 2,500, 3,000 calories just for half a family cheesecake.
For sure.
Back to bed after lunch. I'd then get up about 3:30. I'd be having flapjacks, tuna sandwiches, those kind of things on the way to the gym, necking energy drinks like Powerades and stuff like that. Then I'd start my deadlift. Let's talk about a deadlift day. Yeah, I would do deadlifts for 2 hours as a minimum.
Just deadlifts.
Take me a minimum 2 hours just to do my deadlifts. And the reason for that is, for a maximum pull, in my mind, you cannot be fatigued.
Of course.
So if you're pulling a weight fatigued, you're teaching your body to be slow. And that's why I would take 15 to 20 minutes in between sets, even warm-up sets. So I'd do one plate aside.
You pull 100 kilos, take 15 minutes before you pull 140.
Pretty much.
Right.
Pretty much. Perhaps the warm-ups were a bit more fast-paced than that, but you get the point I'm making.
Yeah.
Like once I felt any kind of fatigue, I would just sit down. I'd get my drink. People laugh at me. I used to have packs of ham, like cooked ham, and I just sit there with pieces of ham, just wolfing pieces of ham down, necking my energy drinks. And 15, 20 minutes between each set. And let's say I was going for a heavy set, say 400, 450 kilos thereabouts. You've got to think I'd only go up 40 kilo at a time. So that's one plate at a time. So it'd be 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate, 4 plate, 5 plate, 6 plate, 7 plate, 8 plate, 9 plate. So you're talking like 10 sets before I even get to my working sets.
Sure.
And then I'm doing the working sets. Sometimes it'd be like 3 sets of 10 at 70, 80%. Sometimes it'd be like 3 sets of 5. It's 90% or something stupid. It'd be 2 hours. And then I'd do my accessory work. So I was a big believer in lockout power was built from a super strong upper back. Because all the lockout power for me is your lats. It's all about getting the bar back. It's getting your shoulders back. So I used to train another 2 hours on my upper back, doing my lats, my rhomboids, rear shoulders, all those kind of things. So I'd be training for 4.5 hours, especially on my deadlift days.
Wow.
Then I would go straight from my gym session to a health spa, and I do my stretching, I do my hot and cold, and I do my rollering at the spa. So I do sort of half an hour to 45 minutes stretching. And then I do hot and cold, I do sauna ice baths. That'd usually be 2 or 3 takes. So it'd be like 20 minutes sauna, 5 minutes ice bath, perhaps twice maximum.
Yeah.
And then I do the rollering, and I'd get on like a skateboard wheels, and I'd fucking roll my back and my glutes and hamstrings to the absolute oblivion, just proper. And I was a big believer in breaking down the muscle to the maximum amount to then recover the maximum amount.
Sure.
Physio would then be the next thing. So I'd be home sort of 8, 9 o'clock, physio for an hour. Again, breaking down that muscle even more, working on the back, the upper back. Then I'd have my evening meal. That would be pretty much similar to the lunch. It'd be like half a kilo meat, half a kilo carbs, 200, 300 grams of veg. And that could be in the form of like a curry, a spag bowl, those kind of foods, steak, rice, pastas. And then I'd have the other half of family cheesecake. And then I would get into my hyperbaric chamber that I built myself back in the day. And I'd go in my hyperbaric chamber for an hour and a half every single fucking night. And then I'd be into bed sort of close to midnight. and then get up and do the same thing the very next day for another body part like shoulders or whatever.
Yeah. All of that in one day, day after day after day after day. How did it not become stale to you?
I guess the it didn't become stale because I was just so obsessed with that target. I guess it became once I won the World's Strongest Man, it became stale.
Sure.
Like instantly.
Sure.
So I think having that target just kept me so motivated because I knew winning the World's Strongest Man was tough for me because in my opinion, like, and don't take offense, I hope no one takes offense to this, especially World's Strongest Man winners, is that winning World's Strongest Man isn't that special these days. I'm so sorry to say that.
Sure.
It really, like, in my eyes. And in my head, I had to do something fucking special. I had to do something different. And that's why the 500 kilo was so important to me to sort of combine the World's Strongest Man and the deadlift together was like cementing that legacy and cementing an almost guaranteed career out of it for myself.
Yeah.
So that's why I was just so beyond obsessed. You know, when someone stands on that podium and they say they haven't missed a session, they haven't missed a meal, they haven't missed a physio session, I was that guy. I could have stood on that podium first, second, third, and I didn't miss a single fucking blink. Like, I was military possessed for 365 days from when I said it to the deadlift.
Let's talk about that whole crazy diet, all of the food, all of the body weight you put on. Obviously, I'm in a different category of body weight, of the amount of food that I eat, of all of that stuff. Do you think that it's a necessity for me to meet that halfway to be able to do something like what you did?
I mean, you've kind of proved that it's not a necessity. Like, you've got up to the realm of, what's your PB, 475?
475. I had 505 to my knee last year.
And that was probably the closest I saw
Yeah.
of anybody, that 505 to the knee. So you've proved that you don't need to be that size, you know, to pull 505. You proved that you can virtually do it. So with the few tweaks that you no doubt you've done and that extra year of endurance and building those tendon strengths and everything else, I'm sure it's capable without putting on 430 pounds of body weight.
Sure, maybe 10 or 15. But if you were to say, all right, the body weight is not necessarily a thing for me, we've chatted enough that you have a general idea of my day to day. What do you think is something where you'd go, this is something you absolutely need to get right in order for this to happen?
100% the recovery. Like, I genuinely think that there are guys out there that have got the mindset to train and be strong enough to pull 500 kilo. There are multiple people out there, but it's having that intelligence to step back and realize that it's a bit like I said, like, you can't deadlift maximum every 7 days. You probably can't deadlift heavy every 14 days without having still some fatigue from 14 days ago, if I'm being honest. Like, you're putting your body under huge amounts of stress and strain and breakdown. So you've got to work out ways to rebuild quicker. And that can be in the form of hyperbaric chambers. It can be in the form of good food, good diet. But honestly, I think the number one thing I prioritized over everything else was my sleep. And like, I would sleep, fucking hell, I would sleep a good 7 hours a night, but then I would get up and eat and I'd go back to bed.
Yeah.
I would do my physio, I'd go back to bed. I'd have my lunch, I'd go back to bed. You total up all the hours sleep I was getting, it'd be close to 12 hours sleep a day on average.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, I think, that as well of all the hyperbaric chambers and the ice recovery and the physio, you know, I was having 5-6 physio sessions a week. You've got to think of that, you know, probably more.
Yeah.
Spending a hell of a lot of money investing myself and putting all that pressure on myself. But I think the sleep, you know, if you can get 12 hours sleep a day, you are, because no one else is getting that. But I didn't have any distractions. I didn't have YouTube. I didn't have a job. You know, I was literally slept and fucking shit strong, man. I didn't give a fuck about nothing else.
Yeah.
So I think sleep is probably the number one priority. If you get 12 hours sleep at night, you're overtaking everyone very fast.
Cool. Cool. If you were to put a percent chance on it, 100% honesty, a percent chance that the record falls this year, what do you think that percent chance is?
Um, this is the thing, man. You can't put 100% chance on anything,
No.
can you? Because
No.
there's injuries, there's setbacks, there's competitions getting in the way, there's prep. I mean, look, Mitch, I saw what you did last year with that 505, and it was like, fuck, man. Like, if you made a few adjustments and came back and committed, like, there's no reason why you can't. So I'd put it at 60-40 that you've got a good chance of getting it.
I'll take that. I'll take that every day. Cool. Well, it's September 6th in Birmingham, Giants Live. What are the chances you're going to be there?
Well, yeah, what date is that?
September 6th.
September 6th. Well, it's far enough away where I can't have a date in the diary. So I'm definitely going to be there as of now.
All right. All right. Well, fingers crossed we see you there. Thanks very much for popping on. I'm going to take some of this stuff on board. No better person to listen to who's done it before than you. So thanks, mate. We'll speak soon and we'll see you September 6th.
Thanks, Mitch. Take care, buddy. Good luck.
Now let's talk about my prep and what I'm going to do in the lead up. But of course, I don't do this by myself. I do this with Lawrence Chalet, in my opinion, the best strength coach in the world. We're going to call him and talk post World's Strongest Man 505 kilo deadlift prep. Let's call him and see what he has to say. All right, chatting with, in my opinion, who should be the most trusted strength coach in the world, the most consistent results ever, maybe, between the two of us. So let's talk 505. We're past World's Strongest Man. We're a handful of months out. So let's talk about training focus right now. I know a lot of people would think that deadlift training starts right now, but let's talk about what that actually is.
Yeah, I mean, when we decide we're going to go for a certain record, or you've got a date where you're trying a certain event, certain weight that you want to lift, you tend to work backwards from that date. And for Mitch, the biggest issue with you is how busy you are. That's the kind of biggest concern for me. We've got, Strongest Man on Earth. We've got the Royal Albert Hall. There's shows that get in the way of this prep, especially Strongest Man on Earth. That's my biggest concern as your coach, just because it's such a heavy competition. And, we've got the trap bar deadlift involved in there too. But we've been training deadlifts now for a long time. And up until, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks out from World's Strongest Man, you were looking phenomenal. Your deadlift looked where we want it to be. So now it's like we kind of make sure nutrition's on point, training's on point, leading through this. But we both spoke about the deadlift, I think probably 6 weeks ago now, when, I was over with you early phases. And that's the real first time we've both thought this is doable.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to see you work up to something big in training before this. And when I say big, I'm talking 470 area. And we need 470 to be moving well. If we can make that happen, then we can talk about 505 being a real possibility, which I believe it is, if everything's kind of, in place. So training wise, it's going to be very much alternating between like a heavier week and a lighter week. When you're at that kind of weight range, it's very difficult to be going super heavy every single week. And I think some people make that mistake, is they'll just try to go heavier, infinitely, and then just burn out. And we've just got to make sure we monitor your body, we monitor your recovery. I have a plan in my head, but because you're so busy, we will alter that plan as we go. But essentially, we're going to be looking at like a 12-week build up towards this, where we alternate between heavy lifts and more speed work, more paused reps in our lighter sessions.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting to talk. Like, what do you think if I were to be able to live 505? I don't know exactly how many weeks out we are right now. It's in September, so we got June, July, August. We've got 3 months. Let's say we're 15 weeks out. What do you think theoretically, you say any day you should be able to rock up in a suit and pull this right now? What number do you think that is?
I think you've got to be able to do 440 just as a base.
Yeah,
Like, that's a ridiculous number. But if you can't pull 440, like I could pull 300, it's you're not really in the conversation of pulling, 505. Um, there's very few people that can kind of maintain that type of strength level just as their base. You are one of them. There's a couple of others maybe that can be around that. And I certainly wouldn't suggest someone of that strength level tries to deadlift 440 any day of the week. I'm talking if we put a gun to your head, could you do it? Yes, you could.
Yeah.
And, for others of us, that base level of strength, it's got to be high. If you haven't got that base built up over years and years of training, then forget about 505. We've seen some incredibly strong athletes fail this that have pulled big numbers in the gym. Hicksy's pulled like 470 in the gym. We've seen other guys pulling around the 470 mark. And we had a number of you pull 470 at the Deadlift World Championships last year on comp day. It's how you pull it in the gym that is quite important, because if 470 is 100% effort, you're busting your bollocks to pull it, you don't have anything left.
Yeah.
We need that to be moving like an RPE 8.5, 9. If it's anything harder than that, then we've gone too heavy and we've ruined the chances. So it's a bit of a fine line between getting the balance right of pushing you to get stronger whilst not pushing you beyond that point where we destroy the central nervous system and you get 3 weeks of just feeling weak as shit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's good for me because I think we kind of know once I start getting into that early hitch territory where the top half slows down, I probably have 15 to 20 kilos left. So if we were at 470 and any sort of hitching is happening, it's probably an uphill battle. But we're aligned as a team that winning another Strongest Man on Earth title doesn't change my life or my strongman prowess or where I would rank all time or anything. But a deadlift record absolutely would. So how do we manage Strongest Man on Earth being 4 weeks out, trying to kill us from deadlift world record? What are your thoughts on that?
I've already spoken to you privately about this. I want you to go to Strongest Man on Earth with the focus of I'm here to get consistent results. So maybe we purposely hold back on certain events. Now, when I say hold back, I don't mean you're going to go there and not try,
Mm,
but we are going to be selective about certain events where we focus on points rather than pushing to the absolute limit. Some athletes will just try and lift whatever they can. We may decide a certain number is enough, it's moved enough, it's picked you up enough points. My goal for you, and I've said this kind of publicly about other athletes, I think just surviving that show will get you a good placing.
yeah.
So for you on the deadlift, if we got top four, that's going to be good points. We don't need to be like pushing the likes of, I know people are pulling out and stuff like that, but say Thor does it and you're against him, like at the Arnolds, you don't need to be pushing him to extreme numbers. We just need to get you good points, and we need to see what that's going to look like over the next few weeks when we start training the trap bar deadlift. Um, and we'll probably have to alternate with trap bar and normal deadlifts as well. My philosophy is, I know yours is as well. If you're good at deadlifting, you'll be good at trap bar deadlifting. If you're squatting, if you're deadlifting, you can adapt to any type of deadlift. So we're not going to spend a huge amount of time just specifically doing the trap bar deadlift because our goal is the 505. That needs to be the priority. As long as we're training that, as long as we're squatting, you're training the same muscle groups that will be needed come Strongest Man on Earth. We may use Strongest Man on Earth as a last heavy attempt
Mm,
in terms of a last real heavy session. But a lot of that will depend on how things are looking as we lead up to it. But it is difficult when you have such a heavy competition because it's not just the deadlift. There's the log for max. There's ridiculously heavy yokes.
yeah.
It's a competition that will tax your central nervous system, and we need to, manage it as best as we can. So for me, it's going to be a game plan that we go in there. Right, let's get top five on these events. If you can
Mm,
be top, normally we'd be top three.
mm.
That's our goal is everything. I'm looking at that and thinking, okay, top five on each event, get a good all-round placing. If you genuinely want to attack this world record, we have to make that the priority.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I think that has to be the plan. I think I have to put everything into this deadlift world record. I think that changes a huge amount of things for myself.
I know one thing about you is when you get your head focused and you are driven towards a goal, you're capable of doing incredible things. So I think, we've got time. We've built up the foundations over the last sort of 3 years. It's not like you're jumping off the sofa and are miles away from this record. I
Yeah.
saw some of the numbers you were pulling before World's Strongest Man, and the power's there. So it's getting everything right. Food is going to have to be probably stricter than you've ever been before with your food. Your training is going to be focused. We're going to have to be selective, like I said, but because this is a huge goal. People kind of throw around 505 like it's just easy. It's hard for a reason. What Eddie did and then what Thor went and did, they're unbelievable feats of strength.
Yeah.
And I know you've been talking to Eddie, and that man dedicated a year to get this kind of lift done. So we are going to put 100% into it and go and smash it.
Well, let's see how it goes. Fingers crossed, but I reckon we got it. Thanks a lot, Lars.
No worries, buddy. I'll speak to you soon.
All right. This is week 1 of prepping for 505. Lots more to come. Training, nutrition, lifestyle, everything. We're going to document the whole process to making history. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching. As per usual, lift heavy, be kind. Subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you tomorrow.